Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Queen Elizabeth, A Day in Her Life. When we last left Lady Elizabeth, she had once more turned down Prince Albert's proposal. She was the belle of the ball at that time, and she had such a happy life with her family, she wasn't in any hurry to settle down. Prince Albert knew the more he saw Elizabeth, the more he knew that she was the only woman for him. I'm anxious to see what changed Elizabeth's mind. Let us find out now. The prince was busy with public engagements during the autumn of 1922. He wrote Elizabeth, but it was a while before they were to see each other again. November, she went to stay for the first time at Holwick Lodge in County Durham. It was the Strathmore property used for shooting. She wrote the prince to tell him that the family were amusing themselves by shooting at huge packs of grouse that flew over the butts at lightning speed. It is rather fun. It is rather fun, and such lovely country. She said it was lovely in the daytime, but at night there was nothing to do, so she played the records that he gave her. She added she was longing to hear what he had been up to, and she told him, "So do come around one day." Lord Strathmore invited Albert to shoot at the St. Paul's Walden for the weekend of November the 24th. The prince and Elizabeth had an enchanting time together. He wrote her afterwards to say what a wonderful day, and he enjoyed the shooting, and he said it was so nice of her to spend all afternoon with him that day. Elizabeth was troubled that their friendship might be stirring up gossip. She wrote him telling him she was worried, and if he could come and see her and they could talk about it. Her being troubled didn't stop her from seeing Prince Albert. They dined in a party at Claridge's on December the 12th before going to Lady Anne Cameron's dance, and the next evening they were together again at a dinner and dance given by Mrs. Greville. They met again December 21st when the prince took Elizabeth, her sister-in-law Fenella, and her brother David to dinner in the theater. Then they parted for Christmas, and she went to St. Paul's, and he went to York Cottage at Sandringham. Queen Mary at this time was concerned about the relationship that had supposedly ended. Her and her son had lost the closeness they had gained, and she used Lady Airlie to transmit a message that Elizabeth shouldn't attend the ball, and she said that Elizabeth should stay away, as it is perhaps wiser for the sake of the young man, as your letter written early in this year made it clear that nothing further could come of the friendship, to the parents' deep regret. On Christmas Day, Elizabeth wrote an unhappy letter to Prince Albert. She said she understood his family's point of view and wouldn't attend the ball. She didn't want to behave badly toward him, and she said in the letter, "You know that, don't you?" And she said he was a wonderful friend, and she didn't want him to regret it ever. It's all very sad, and it must be so annoying to you. We've had such fun these last few weeks. I do hope that you don't think I behaved badly. I'm just beginning to wonder. She then said, "Please tell me, have I done right? Yours in perplexity, Elizabeth." So they got together at another ball at Holcombe Hall near Sandringham on December 28th. He wrote to her that it was the limit the way other people mix themselves in things that do not concern them. He urged her to see Lady Airlie to resolve the situation. He told her to be frank with Lady Airlie and tell her exactly what great friends we are, and I will do the same. Prince Albert was mad and ready to confront his parents. Elizabeth, though, was cautious and anxious and didn't want a confrontation. She told the prince to do nothing until she had seen Lady Airlie. In a letter that Elizabeth had written to thank Beryl for her Christmas present, she wrote about the situation and said, "I don't seem to be able to like anybody enough to marry them. Isn't it odd? I love my friends, but somehow can't do more. I dare say I shall end my days a spinster and probably be much happier. However, one can never tell, can one?" The prince returned to London on January the 2nd, 1923. The next day he took Elizabeth to dinner at Claridge's and then to the theater with his equerry Captain Giles Seabright and Lady Anne Cameron. After the show they returned to Claridge's to dance. It was a happy evening, and Prince Albert asked Elizabeth once more to marry him. The following day Elizabeth went to talk to Lady Airlie and then wrote to the prince. And she told him it was angelic of him to allow her plenty of time to think it over. "I really do need it, as it takes so long to ponder these things, and this is so very important for us both. If in the end I come to the conclusion that it will be all right, well and good. But Prince Bertie, if I feel that I can't, and I will not marry you unless I'm quite certain for your own sake, then I shall go away and try not to see you again. I feel that these are the only two alternatives. Either it will all come right, which I hope it will, or the other. I do hope you understand my feelings. I am more grateful to you for not hurrying me, and I am determined not to spoil your life by just drifting on like this. You are so thoughtful for me always. Oh, I do want to do what is right for you. I have thought of nothing else all day. Last night seems like a dream. Was it? It seems so now. Perhaps you better not say anything just yet to anybody. What do you think? Do as you think best. Elizabeth wrote in her diary that she went to talk to Lady Airlie, and they talked a long time and explained everything. And she was so nice, Elizabeth said. And Elizabeth felt perplexed. January the 5th, she saw in the evening papers that she was engaged to the Prince of Wales. They didn't mention her name, but she said it was quite obvious enough, too stupid and unfounded. She went to London and drove down to St. Paul's Walden with her parents. Next she went to another ball, this time at Longleaf. The prince arrived for tea, and they talked until 7:30. The king and queen knew that their son was still pursuing Elizabeth, and that she was resisting him. They weren't happy about it. The queen wrote to Lady Airlie on January 9th, thanking her for helping in this tiresome matter. Queen Mary hoped that nothing would come from it. Her and her husband felt ruffled by Eve's behavior. Elizabeth's parents were concerned too. One of her brothers said to her, "Look here, you know you must say yes or no. It's not fair." So that struck a chord on Elizabeth, and she had to admit he was right. "It's a good thing having brothers," she said. The prince in the meantime decided to talk about what was really happening, and on January 12th he wrote his parents, and he said he hoped that the Queen Mary and his father wouldn't think badly of him for having left them the impression that it was over between him and Elizabeth. And the last 2 months a change had come over her, and she had been charming to him in every way. He told Elizabeth how he felt, and she'd asked for him time to think it over, what he said. If her mother gave him permission, he was intending to go to St. Paul's Walden at once. Elizabeth had promised him a definite answer on Saturday. He said it was a difficult letter to write to them, but he hoped all would turn out right and that he would be happy. He said it had all taken a long time, but he had been right to play the waiting game, because I know she would have said no if I had pressed her for an answer before now. He was waiting for Lady Strathmore's invitation to St. Paul's Walden, and he got it. He told his parents, "I do hope you will wish me luck. I'm very, very excited about it all." He ended the letter saying, "Best love to you, darling Mama. I remain ever your devoted boy, Bertie." According to Elizabeth's diary, on the morning of January 13th, she had a breaky at 10:30 and then went for a walk with the prince. After lunch, they both went to saw wood with her father, and Prince Bertie sawed hard. I was thinking he was probably anxious about the engagement hanging over his head. And then she wrote in her diary, "They talked after tea for hours, decided to wait a little. I hope I'm not behaving badly." So Saturday night the prince still didn't have an answer. Sunday morning after breakfast she sat and talked with the prince until 12:30, and they went for a walk in the Enchanted Wood. A long walk after lunch, and long talks after tea and dinner. She didn't put it in her diary, but late that evening she did finally accept his proposal of marriage. Lady Strathmore wrote her daughter May about it. He came down to St. P.W. suddenly on Friday and proposed continuously until Sunday night, when she said yes at 11:30. Double exclamation marks. My head is completely bewildered, as all those days E was hesitating and miserable, but now she's absolutely happy, and he is radiant. So Monday morning, the prince was happy, and he drove Elizabeth up to London and dropped her at Bruton Street. Later he took her to lunch with Princess Mary and Lord Lascelles at Chesterfield House. The Prince of Wales congratulated them and escorted her home, while Prince Albert set off with Louis Gregg to Sandringham to tell his parents. The king stated in his diary, "Bertie with Gregg arrived after tea and informed us that he was engaged to Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon, to which we are gladly give our consent. I trust they will be very happy." The queen said, "We are delighted, and he looks beaming. We sent off telegrams, wrote letters, and are very busy." Elizabeth and her family were busy too. At home in Bruton Street with her mother, she wrote lots of letters, including one to her friend Arthur Pym. She told him she was going to marry Prince Bertie, and she said, "I do hope you like him," and she said she felt terrified now that she did it. She said, in fact, that no one was more surprised than she was. And she told Arthur, "You have been my best friend for years. Please, please don't cast me off as one now, will you?" The news was released at Sandringham, and Elizabeth said the telephone rang the whole evening. Hundreds of reporters clamoring. The last day of peace, I suppose. Bed 11. So I'm going to end the video here. And this episode was one where Elizabeth had to make up her mind once and for all if Prince Albert was the man for her. It was funny that Queen Mary said she wouldn't get involved in her son's love life, but she did anyway. She did that by trying to get Lady Airlie to give the word that Elizabeth should stay away from Prince Albert if she didn't want to marry him. When Prince Albert found out, he was angry at everyone for getting in their business. He had a long-range waiting game, and he knew he couldn't push her, and his patience paid off, and she said yes. Luckily, Elizabeth talked with one of her brothers, who said it wasn't fair of her to keep Prince Albert in limbo. He told her, "You must say yes, or you must say no." Prince Albert was brave to keep bringing up the question for a third time. I don't think he would have asked her again after that, and Elizabeth in her letter to him stated it would either be all right or it wouldn't be, and that she would try to stay out of his life if it wasn't. It sounded like she needed up to the last second to decide, telling her friend she was terrified now that she said yes, and no one was more surprised than she was. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, if you could give it a thumbs up, it would be greatly appreciated. I hope everybody's been having a good day, and tune in again soon for another episode of Queen Elizabeth, A Day in Her Life. Thank you.